Welcome to the channel. You guys already saw the preview, and in fact this is actually part 2 of the modern design that I had put out a video maybe about 2 weeks ago, give or take. I did have a bit of a pause in between just because I was able to visit Garden of the Gods, which is in Colorado Springs, Colorado, and if you haven't seen that, there's gonna be a link right there. It looks really great. This is an area that it's a park, but it does serve for inspiration. At least to me it did. So if you want to check that out, great. Otherwise you can see the video and still enjoy the scenery, which is amazing. There are several other places around the country, I'm sure around the world, that have that sort of style as far as literally rocks, or I don't know what you want to call them, stones sticking out of the ground and just kind of like defying gravity, if you will. Anyways, Sedona in Arizona has something similar as far as the red type of, I don't know, stones. For now, I'm not gonna get into the details, but anyways, that is it for that part. I'm gonna put that aside for now, but we are gonna be talking about the design that, again, you guys saw at the beginning of the video, and it's going to be about this modern, style of design, and it does work depending on your lot or property if you have this space. Now, the reason why I want to do this is because the backyard was not very big, but with the design and materials and everything else, we were able to fit a lot of things in this backyard, and also the views that they had. So let's talk a little bit about that and what happened here. Now, I'm going to be putting some measurements in the video, so if you're looking somewhere around here, you'll see some of those measurements, the distances, how much it is, roughly between 60, I believe 65 feet, give or take, and about 20, I believe 25, give or take, feet of space in this backyard. Now, the lot itself is not super, it's not actually rectangular, it's a little bit off, about I think 20 on one end, I think it's 25 on one end, and the other one's like 26, give or take, I don't know. Measurements are down there in case you want specifics, like real detailed specifics. And one thing I should ask is, if you want more detailed numbers, let me know if I should just do more of just showing you guys how those things work as far as the actual design and the measurements, and I can definitely do videos in that style. But for now, let's kind of focus on what we have here and how this came to be. Now, one of the things that you guys will see, or you guys maybe saw in the video, is that there's quite a bit of difference from one corner of the house. And so to kind of talk about, kind of how we're looking at this house, Let's say that where you have that area of that sitting patio with a fire pit, let's say that that's the east side of the property, and then we have that swimming spa where you have this sort of thing rooftop going up. We're gonna say that's the west side of the property, just to kind of give you an idea, and towards the fence will be the south, right? To give us, a better sense of direction. So on the east side of the property in the backyard and to the west, there was roughly around 10 or so feet of differences of height, and that is because just the way the land was. So in order to make this work, we had to put a few retaining walls, and you see those right there. Now this allowed us to do a few things, and one of those things was to kind of lower the area down and put that swimming spa, which I mentioned about a second ago, on the west side of things. Now we did have to put concrete all in that area, and that's one of the materials that we use in this design. So concrete to get from the garage to the back where you have that sitting space, and then kind of go down through steps, kind of making a bit of an S to kind of turn, and then going down below the deck, and then to the bottom part where it would meet with a hot tub on one side that was next to the house, and on the other side that swimming spa. So a lot of stuff already going on, and that is one of the things that the homeowners just want to really emphasize on this, just that areas where you can hang out if you wanted to, either in the water literally, or if you want to be away from that and kind of having a better view. And that is the reason why we did that patio kind of on the higher part, which makes sense, right? You want to have better visibility of the view, and in this case you had the mountain range, and so this being higher, it allowed for a fire pit and also a small water feature, pondless water feature. And now I spoke a little bit about this as far as, depending on your space, you could do something like this or maybe something bigger. Now, the homeowners wanted something that created sound that would be right next to this sitting area, just to kind of, if you were there, it gives you a bit more of that ambient sound. And as I mentioned, it's not very big, and depending on your situation, you may want to make this bigger or not, but just to give you an idea of what we're working with this area. So we had to bury a gas line for the fire pit. As you guys can see, there is a fire pit there, natural gas. Now at the beginning of the actual construction of the house, the homeowners did reach out to the builder and ask them to make it available to them where they can have gas, and then we can connect to that. Now this may be something that you may want to think about, otherwise you may have to do a direct connection to the actual gas meter. So depending on where you are wanting to do this, but just to give you a sense of what went down in this design. Now again, very close in proximity, but we are going to be talking about also what we use as far as materials, boulder walls, rock, and also plants and shrubs and all that good stuff. So let's talk about the retaining walls first. So you'll see a few retaining walls. Now the height of them were 4 feet at the highest point, and it went down or dropped down to about 1.5 feet, give or take, on some of the areas. The very bottom wall in itself did a bit of a U situation. So for two reasons: one, because of the property, the way it was going down this way, and also because of the steps to get down. So it really makes sense to do that. Now we definitely want to add some privacy, or as much as we could in this area. So we did add some shrubs on one end. We also add some upright evergreen trees. So we'll talk about those in just a second. Now the boulder style of this one, at least in the area, they call it Denver granite. That's just the name of it. So in case you happen to see it, it is a granite style of boulder that kind of has those darker sort of black colors and a bit of red infused in them. So maybe depending on where you are, you may have a different style available to you, or maybe something similar to this, maybe the gray, something in the area of the grays, or maybe some lighter ones. Again, it just depends on where you are. You may want to think about that. Now, you could also do this walls with block if you want to do something even cleaner than what we have in this area. Now, they wanted to kind of infuse the modern style of house with a bit of that sort of mountain look, so that's the reason why they went for this style of material. Now, in between that, we had some rock, 1.5 river rock. They call it blue gray. You may have something similar, different names. Some will have more pinks, some more blues, some will have some more grays. So depending on where you are, you also may want to think about that. Now, there are 2 rocks that we use mainly in this design, at least in the back portion, which was one, the blue gray river rock, and also the smaller of that one, which is the 3/4 inch, but the other one was also, I believe, what they call it, a clear creek, which is a blend of whites and grays. So in case you're wanting to know what materials we use on this one. Now, that one was 3/4 inch as well. And for the most part, that's kind of the overall materials that we use for the back. So let's talk a little bit about what we use for the tree shrubs and all that good stuff. So we do have different kinds just because of spacing, how big they want them, obviously sizes and all that good stuff. So you may also want to think about that. We did use a lot of dwarf on the evergreen side of things. We used some blue totem spruces, the ones that are right next to the swim spa. And on the east side, next to the fire pit, we did use some bakelite spruces as well. So dwarf evergreens, not super big. They're gonna get obviously somewhat big, but not too big as opposed to say 40 to 50 feet tall, where those can be something like the Colorado blue spruce, just as a reference. After that, we did a lot of just different kinds of shrubs. Along the fence, we did some Peking cotonisters. We also did a blend of different kinds. And one of the things that the homeowner really wanted to kind of focus on were roses. Now, many different kinds out there, so he and she decided to do different kinds. So that's gonna be on you if you like roses. Some people do, some people don't. I think I've said this before. Thorns, not so much a fan of those, but you know, some people really like them. Not only do they like the colors that roses have, but also the fragrances. So if you are a fan of those, you may want to think about getting a few of those. At least in my opinion, I prefer the Rose of Sharon. I prefer those. Not a lot of the thorniness going on there, so that could be potentially if you want something like roses, but without those little prickly things on them. So we also use some of those. Those are going to be right next to the house, in between the walls, right next to the roses as well. We did a few different kinds of perennials, and again, this is going to be on what you may want to use, but we did a few lavenders, we did a few daylilies, just to give a bit of that. Not super full, but enough so it wasn't also lonely. So a little bit of that. We also did some blue small spruces, some globe spruces, just to give it a bit of color. Right next to those, we also did some blue spireas. Those do attract bees, so keep that in mind. If you don't have kids or you are allergic to them, then you may want to use those, especially because bees are very important. Do I have to say why? I don't think I have to, but in case you have a lot of perennials, they will be fantastic because they're gonna do their job and you're gonna have a lot of flowers going on. So keep that in mind. Now, a lot of people are like afraid of bees, like, hey, bees gonna sting me, so maybe that's not for you. But other than that, we do have some lilacs. We also, as far as those, they are the blue meringue for those. And we do have a few other roses. Again, going back to those, it's going to be depending on what you are thinking, and as well as some pink beauty poinsettias. But that's going to be overall all of the shrubs for the most part. There's a few here and there that you can always adjust depending on where you are, your region, temperatures, depending on also how high you are. If you're close to, say, the sea or a little further away from there, just the elevation. very important. So look into that depending on where you are. But other than that, we do obviously have a lot of concrete that we have to use in order to do this. And as I mentioned, depending on your design preference, you may want to do, say, maybe a color concrete, accompany that by maybe some block walls, right? But that's kind of what we have in this area. I definitely enjoyed this design. I really did. It took me a while to get to this one, but here it is. What do you guys think about this? Let me know in the comments if you enjoy any of this. Yeah, if you are working on your own landscape, I like to see a few of those pictures. I will soon start my own Instagram as far as this. That way you guys, if you guys want to tag me on those, that'd be great. And that is it for this video. But don't forget our motto, which is dream, design, create. Thumbs up if you liked it, subs if you loved it, and we will see you guys on the next video. In the meantime, have a good one. Bye.